Welcome to a Telltale Books video. I'm Greg.
And I'm Emily.
And we're continuing our Dangerous Visions exploration. With the next story, we're just reading front to back. The next story we come across here is titled The Man Who Went to the Moon Twice by Howard Rodman. We are Telltale Books, bringing you the best in literature, literary topics, and graphic design and bookmaking.
If you want to support us, you can find us on Etsy and Pango, where you can find gently used, rare, and even top quality used books.
And if you like this video, be sure to hit the like button, the subscribe button, and maybe even that bell to be notified when new videos go live.
Thanks for joining us.
So our brief version and opinion of this story is what we're going to tell you now, and then we'll go into a lot more detail after. But our brief bullet points.
The man went to the moon twice.
Yes.
He did. Allegedly.
And while it's not really a dangerous story, and we'll get into the story behind that it doesn't really fit the theme of Dangerous Visions, it is a very good story. It's a very interesting story. It's not your typical science fiction story.
And it's one of those stories where the very last line changes everything.
And so what did you think?
I thought it was good. Not top tail, but very good.
I agree.
I really enjoyed it. And it was a quick read. You could literally sit on the toilet and read this. It's a really fast read. And it's very entertaining.
Okay, so deeper synopsis, and there may be spoilers in this section, so leave now if you don't want spoilers.
Or go read it. Hit pause, go read it, come back.
Yeah, that would work.
So, more in depth. This young man is at a fair, and he's in a little balloon. And the balloon rope breaks, and he gets carried up and is gone for 12 hours. And then the balloon starts losing air, and he's gently brought back to Earth. And when asked what happened, he said, "Oh, I went to the moon." And people started coming from miles around. This is kind of a comedic story, too. So it's almost immediately everybody's coming from miles around. So unreliable narrator a little bit. But, he's 12. What did he remember? Anyway, everybody comes from miles around, including a chicken and a horse. And his parents are so proud, and everybody's so proud, but nobody knows what to say, so they're just looking at him and just really impressed that he went to the moon. And when they ask him, what was the moon like? He was like, chilly. It was a little brisk up there. And then talked about like an eagle that got mad because he flew higher than the eagle, and the eagle wanted to fly higher than him. It was very funny and cute. So then decades go by, and they continue to go by. And everyone who remembered the little boy who went to the moon has died now, except that little boy. And he's well into his 90s, 100s already. And every day he goes in and out of town, and realizes nobody has any joy or sense of wonder in anything. So he disappears for a month. And when he comes back, everybody comments, "Hey, you've not been around much." And he goes, "Oh yeah, I was gone to the moon." And they're like, "Oh, that's nice." And so this happens a couple times, and he's just a little frustrated because nobody seems to care that he's been to the moon. Twice even. So on his way home, he's basically kicking rocks and meandering, and a little boy approaches him and says, "Hey, mister, what you up to?" And the guy goes, "Well, been to the moon twice. Nobody seems to care." And the little boy, wide-eyed, is like, "Really?" And so the little boy goes and tells his friends, and they all go back to find the old man at the house up on the hill. And he's dead. But there lied the man who went to the moon twice. But the last line is what gets me, which is pretty much, everybody just goes to Mars now. There's not much to see on the moon.
Yeah.
And I love that line, because you think this is just a hokey little story about a boy who, it's just making shit up. Or a 100-year-old man who's just making shit up. But now everybody goes and stares at the dead man who went to the moon twice. Because nobody goes to the moon now. Yeah. They all just go to Mars.
Yeah.
There's more to see. So I thought that was actually really fun because you kind of just think, oh, this is just a hokey little story. But then that last line makes all the difference and gives you much more context to what's happening in the world and why.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really well done and very interesting.
Right. Now, there's some things to understand about this story, because the first thing you'll notice is that this story is not a dangerous vision.
Nothing scary or weird
There's
about
nothing
it.
here that a magazine wouldn't publish.
No societal commentary.
No taboos here.
Yeah. No Lolita complexes or murdering for sexual preference, as we've seen in the past.
Ellison, in his introduction to the story, explains that before Dangerous Visions became Dangerous Visions, what Ellison really wanted to do was an anthology of stories by authors who were not science fiction authors from outside the genre, authors that mostly did literary fiction, or in Howard Rodman's case, he was actually a screenwriter. He wrote, he only wrote 2 fantastical stories. He did write other short stories and plays that were not genre stories, but he mostly is known for writing screenplays, including the pilot episode of The $6 Million Man.
Oh, interesting.
And teleplays for shows like Route 66 through the 60s and 70s, and he won just all kinds of screenwriting awards.
Awesome.
He was very well known. He was probably the most influential screenwriter, at least for television, in Hollywood at this period of time when Dangerous Visions was published. And Ellison changed the idea for Dangerous Visions mainly because Rodman's the only one that said yes. All the rest of them were turning him down. So then he changed his idea, but he kept this. He had gotten this story from Rodman, and he kept it in the book, even though it didn't really fit. He felt it was a good enough story that he couldn't let it go.
Yeah, and I understand. There's nothing wrong with honoring your commitments anyway. If
Right.
somebody's already agreed to it, you might as well. So that's nice of him.
And Rodman, all the stories have an afterword by the author, and Rodman was saying that what he wanted to capture here was how in the earlier days of technology, like in the early 20th century, things like the automobile and the airplane and the radio and the television, when these things came out, everybody gathered around. It was such a big event.
It was a big deal.
There was a store in town that had a television in the window, and everybody went and
and
stood
watched the
around it and then
TV.
marveled at it. Somebody came by in a new Ford Model T, and everybody was just in awe of this thing. And by the time this story was written, Rodman was noticing that people were kind of jaded to all that stuff. There were new technologies coming up, but people were so used to technology that, it's a new technology.
All right, well,
that's
more of the same,
fine.
just a little different.
Yeah, more of the same. And we can see that in our world. All this stuff that we don't even know anything about anymore that came along and was so innovative when I was a kid or just before I was born, and now nobody even knows what it is because nobody has them anymore. So just that change and the way people just are taking it all for granted now. And I often think of that now. What if something happened, some kind of turmoil, whether it's political or environmental, to take away our power grid?
Yeah.
All the things that suddenly we don't have, and we're no longer. When I was a kid, losing power in a thunderstorm was a pretty common occurrence, and you just lit some candles and dealt with it.
Yeah.
Picked
You
up
read
a book,
colored a doodle.
I even did a watercolor painting by candlelight when I was in high school. Today, people don't even know how to do that.
Yeah.
They're so enmeshed in all this technology, the computer, the cell phone, the iPad, television, cable, having the internet connection, having all those things is so much a cornerstone of our lives that I don't think we could function very well without them.
Yeah, and I had a similar experience as a chronically ill person. I I had an insulin pump fail me, and I'm a type 1 diabetic.
Mm-hmm.
So having to go back to giving myself injections was for several hours, over the course of several hours, every couple of hours, was really difficult. And it made me think of all the times before having that insulin pump. When I was young, I did not have an insulin pump. That experience really made me consider, though, that how much technology has not only impacted my life, but considering how much of a big deal it was even back in the days when, you didn't have a glucometer to test your blood sugar, but just having litmus paper and being able to test your urine was a big deal for people who had diabetes.
Mm-hmm.
And how screwed we are as a culture, especially people younger than me who basically were diagnosed and had an insulin pump almost immediately.
Mm-hmm.
How screwed they are to not know how to be able to dose themselves in an emergency like that, or if all of that goes offline.
Right.
And I'm probably going to die if something like that happened, to be perfectly honest, because how am I supposed to recharge my insulin pump? How are batteries supposed to be made?
And for readers, how many of you watching this even know what Dewey Decimal is?
Yeah.
Card catalogs don't exist anymore.
No.
But that was the standard for many, many years. You didn't have computer systems that had it all logged in. You went to the card catalog and you thumbed through to find what you wanted.
Yep.
And those technologies are gone, and it's like, now it's all computer, so what if the computer goes off? Now how do you find something in a library?
The reliance is destructive.
Yeah.
But there's also, I do see a little bit of that change in culture where we're a little bit more awestruck now with the introduction of AI. But even then, the removal of AI, how many people actually are artists without AI? How many people actually are writers without AI?
Mm-hmm.
When you start considering those things and you start realizing that the technique is lost, if you don't have that system to assist you, you're not a creative anymore.
Right.
And so that's the biggest argument I've seen against AI, is that without AI, if you're not creative enough to come up with all of that on your own, without AI, you're not a creative without AI.
Mm-hmm.
So if the infrastructure goes down or AI gets banned because of all the controversies or whatever else happens.
But there's so many things that we rely upon that if those systems did go under, we wouldn't be able to function. Like, how many people in today's world can calculate logarithms without a calculator?
Yep.
When I was in high school, we had to do it using a table in the back of the math book.
Mm-hmm.
My brother's day, they still use slide rules.
Yep.
And today, none of those things exist. It's all in a calculator. Well,
Nobody
if the
knows how to use
if
an
the
abacus
calculators
anymore.
if the calculators stop working, how do we do that math when it's not really being learned by much of anybody anymore? The vast majority of people don't know how to do those things. And I really think we should try to keep our feet in the past enough that if something fails, we can fall back.
Yeah, we're not
on
completely dysfunctional.
simpler technologies, older technologies, and continue to function as a society instead of giving it all over to AI, and then when AI turns everything into falsities, society breaks down.
Or tells you to drink bleach to get rid of bacteria in your stomach. That's fun.
Yeah, the latest fun one I heard was this band.
Oh yeah, that I sent you that one.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Meta got their AI created this false story about them being in some kind of big controversy, and all they did was have an argument with a guy with the guy setting up the stage at a nightclub.
Yeah, it wasn't anything big deal. It just built this entire false controversy surrounding this band, and they're just like, all we did was release a song recently, and for some reason this AI has decided we're part of a controversy that never happened, and now people are canceling us, and we have no idea what the heck was going on until we Googled the controversy and realized it was all AI. So yeah, that was pretty frustrating.
Now they should be able to sue Meta for damages.
That's libel.
Because that's hurting their reputation.
Yeah, that's got to be libel, right? Or
one of those.
Yeah.
I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know
slander.
what you would
Lies
call
and
it,
slander
but,
is what it
know,
is.
They're losing livelihood off of something that was not true.
Mm-hmm.
That was put out there by Meta's AI systems. They should be able to go after Meta and successfully sue for whatever damages are appropriate here.
Yeah,
however
agreed.
much money they
and
lost.
I'm glad that they put out their story because the truth is the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just sitting here like, we were trying to figure out why people were unfollowing us and commenting mean things. We had no idea what was happening.
But that's a really good example of why we should not be going down this road of handing everything over to these machines and trusting them to do it right.
Yeah.
Because they're not necessarily going to get it right.
Mm-hmm. Back to the story, though, talking about technologies, and it was kind of fun to see he traveled to the moon by balloon. Because we've seen that in past science fiction.
Yeah,
and to
Edgar
see that
Allan
repeated.
Poe.
Yep, Edgar Allan Poe. I think H.G. Wells did one too, was it?
Well, it was a metal sphere
like an airship
that was coated
kind of
with
thing.
cavorite, and cavorite
Okay.
resisted gravity.
Okay. But yeah, something balloon-esque. So I thought that was kind of fun to see the reintroduction of something that we're kind of, if you're into sci-fi, you're kind of familiar with already. And then seeing them talk about going to Mars instead, because allegedly it's the most habitable planet besides Earth if something goes wrong. So
Yeah,
I thought
but
that was interesting.
that's an important point. There are a lot of parallels, and I'm thinking Rodman probably did purposely do this.
Oh, I'm sure he did.
Between his story and I believe it's Hans Fall by Edgar Allan Poe is the one where he goes to the moon.
I can't remember off the top
I forget
of my head. I can't affirm or deny.
Yeah, I forget the title of the story, but it's where Edgar Allan Poe tried to write a hoax about going to the moon in a balloon. And so this story is
a parallel.
Appropriating that and turning it into a very different story. So it's very creative, but there's a definite literary reference going on here to Edgar Allan Poe, which I like.
Yeah, and then the dialogue too about Mars being a place with one, more to see, and two, more likely to be habitable by humans, both by scientists as well as a lot of creative science fiction writers, both contemporary and back in the day. So I think that was very interesting to kind of appropriate those two things into the story and to.
And it was interesting to write this kind of a fairy tale type story 2 years before we actually went to the moon.
Interesting. That's awesome.
You know, because he knew we were developing spaceships that were going to go to the moon. And I can't remember exactly when Apollo 8 orbited the moon, but it was around this time period, 67, 68, that Apollo 8 actually went there.
So did we even know that Mars might be more habitable by that point? Probably not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like,
we've learned a lot more about Mars these days, but
yeah,
we
since
knew
the rovers.
that the moon was airless at the time that Rodman wrote his story.
Yeah, it had no atmosphere.
And we also knew that there was no atmosphere between here and the moon. So,
yeah, we knew enough.
He wrote something that was a complete fabulation, which is cool. You know, it's a modern fairy tale.
I love it.
And totally appropriate for a time period that was so focused about getting a man on the moon.
Yeah. And it's interesting because this is a story where, yeah, the gentleman dies in the end, but this is so heartwarming. It's appropriate. He dies happy. And, like, isn't that what everybody wants in life? To just die happy.
Yeah.
You know? And it's such an uplifting and cheerful story, even at that point of his death, that you don't feel bad for him. You kind of end up leaving, like, I left this story smiling because I'm like, aw,
yeah,
he died happy.
And he died happy because he finally found kids that had that sense of wonder alive still that he had experienced when he was a kid.
Yep.
That the whole town had that sense of wonder.
And those two kids actually made the whole town have that sense of wonder too when they came back to town. Of course, they probably were coming because there's a dead man in a house and he's been around forever and he's ridiculously old. So everybody was like, is he really dead? Did he really finally croak? But at the same time, you don't know that. It's a speculation. And then you have these children who are just like, there he is. That's the guy. The guy who went to the moon twice. Looks like he's gone again.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just very cute. and very heartwarming,
Yeah.
despite all that. So, yeah.
It's a good story. Really excellent story. Recommended reading.
Mm-hmm.
Not a dangerous vision. And
Not really
not
a top
quite
tale.
a top tale for us.
But very well
But
done and
it's
highly
definitely up
recommended.
there. Yeah. And it's one of those stories that does, I mean, that original concept for the anthology would have been really good, because you don't have to be part of science fiction fandom to be a science fiction writer. Anybody can write something that is totally appropriate to science fiction and fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
Even if mostly they write, contemporary literary fiction,
Mm-hmm.
they can write something that totally fits into
Yeah.
the genre.
And it just shows the versatility of a creative, which
Mhm.
I appreciate, just in
Mhm.
general. Like, you may not be built to do all kinds of fine art and whatever, but there's still creative people who are very versatile. And I
Yeah.
think that's important to remember, is despite what we feel our limitations are as creatives and the imposter syndrome that we experience as creatives, we have full capacity to be more and to stretch ourselves and to cope
Mhm.
beyond that. So
Mhm.
I find that interesting and fun and hopeful,
Right.
especially with a story like this.
Right. So if you've ever read The Man Who Went to the Moon Twice in Dangerous Visions, feel free to drop your comments in the comments section of the video. We'll be happy to read them and respond if it's something that we have anything that we can say about it.
Contribute to, yeah. We'll contribute if we
Otherwise,
can.
we'll at least give you a thumbs up or something.
Yeah.
Say thanks or something. Anyway, leave comments, like us, and subscribe to us, and come on back. We're going to continue through Dangerous Visions, and I keep forgetting to put in my notes what the next story is. I'm not sure what the next story in Dangerous Visions is, but we will read it and we will report on it. And we hope you'll come back for that and everything else we do.
Mm-hmm. And thanks guys so much, guys, for those of you who have supported us. If you guys want to continue to support us, we can be found on both Etsy and Pango to sell rare and gently used books. That'll get us towards our goal of eventually publishing things of our own that are well designed and beautiful books just for you. And you just help support our channel and making sure that we keep delivering exactly what you came here for.
Yep.
So thanks for joining us, guys. We will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.